My parents took out a third mortgage to fund my so-called golden child sister's failed business, and now they expect me to drop out of college to dig them out of debt. I'm an 18-year-old woman, and I've got an older sister who's 22. She's always been my parents' favorite, like, hands down. To be totally honest, I don't even think they planned on having me. It's always felt like I was an afterthought, someone they barely tolerated. They've made it pretty clear over the years that I'm not the one they wanted. Growing up, I was constantly pushed into the shadows so my sister could shine. Anytime I tried to stand out or do something noteworthy, they'd shut it down. It was like they didn't want me to do anything that might outshine her. Thing is, my sister? She's painfully average. And I don't say that to be mean, it's just the truth. She's not great at anything in particular, but my parents still treat her like she's God's gift. Meanwhile, I've always done better than her, in school, in sports, pretty much everything. But none of that ever mattered. Looking back, I think I pushed myself so hard because I was desperate for some kind of approval or affection from them. I figured if I just kept beating her at everything, maybe they'd finally see me, maybe even love me the way they loved her. But that plan completely backfired. Instead of appreciating the effort, they'd call me an attention seeker, like I was doing something wrong just by trying. By the time I hit high school, it finally sank in that nothing I did would ever be enough to change how they saw me. So I stopped trying to impress them. I didn't stop excelling, I still crushed it in class and kept competing in sports, but I started doing it for myself and for my future, not for their approval. Honestly, I think my sister was jealous. Deep down, she knew that everyone outside our little family bubble could see who the more capable sibling was. That probably pissed her off since she was used to being the center of her parents' universe. I tried to be her friend more times than I can count, but she always acted like she was too good to bother with me. So, when it came time for college, none of us were really on speaking terms. And to be honest, I think we were all glad to put some distance between us. I started college 2 years ago. I'm a business major, always saw myself running my own thing someday. Thankfully, I didn't need to rely on my parents for tuition. I landed a pretty decent scholarship that covers most of it, and whatever's left is paid for by my best friend's dad. My best friend knows all about the situation with my family. She knew I couldn't count on my parents for support, especially not if it meant I might end up doing better than my sister, so her dad stepped up. He didn't want me to have to go into debt or ask them for help. Between the scholarship and his generosity, it's not a huge amount, but I'm still insanely grateful. I absolutely plan to pay him back when I can, but for now he's covering my costs like he does for his own daughter. They've got money, real money, unlike my parents. So for them, helping out isn't a big deal. I'm lucky as hell to have that kind of support from someone because I know I'd never get it from the people who should have been there for me. My parents think I'm studying on a full ride. I told them my tuition was completely waived and they bought it. They were just relieved they wouldn't have to spend a cent on me and could keep spoiling my sister without any guilt. On top of that, I've been working a part-time job tutoring to cover my other expenses. I get by. Yeah, I have to be pretty frugal, but since I live on campus and my meals are part of the deal, I don't have a whole lot of overhead. My family, on the other hand, is constantly teetering on the edge financially. For years ago, they even pawned off all the jewelry in my grandpa's house just to keep their textile business afloat. That helped for a while, but things didn't exactly turn around for them. They never want my input, though. I've offered before, tried giving suggestions, but they don't want to hear it. So now, I just keep my head down and focus on myself. For a while, I used to stress out over their debt. But then I read that unless I co-signed anything, I wasn't legally on the hook. That was a huge relief, honestly. Once I realized I wasn't going to be tied to their financial mess, I stopped losing sleep over it. If they don't respect me or my knowledge, then I'm not going to bend over backwards to fix their problems. But then yesterday, out of nowhere, I get this call from them. They said my sister's in trouble, and so are they. Turns out they'd taken out another mortgage on the house they live in almost a year ago to fund her new bakery. Yep, a bakery. My sister's never gone to college. She's not even good at baking. Why they thought this was a solid business move is beyond me. And of course, they never mentioned any of this to me. I had no idea they mortgaged the house. Didn't ask, and they didn't tell me. Now the bakery's tanked. She had to shut it down because it wasn't turning a profit. And suddenly, my parents are calling me up, expecting me to swoop in and fix everything. They want me to come back home and start handling all their finances, help run their business, and basically save them from the hole they dug. They actually told me, flat out, that I should quit college and start working full-time for the family. Like it was no big deal. Like that was a normal, reasonable thing to ask. I asked them why on earth I'd throw away my education to clean up their mess. And they just said, Well, your family. You owe us that much. They laid it out real simple. I couldn't juggle college, the family business, and another job all at the same time. Something had to give. And to them, dropping out of school made the most sense. It meant I'd be back home, closer to the mess they wanted me to clean up, and one less thing keeping me from helping out. I was stunned, like genuinely speechless. They were acting like it was totally reasonable to ask me to throw away my entire future just because they made one terrible decision after another. They were treating it like no big deal, like I was just switching out a hobby or something. Then my dad said something that really set me off. He told me my sister needed me, and if I didn't want to lose my home, I better come back and get to work. That was it. I snapped. I told him straight up that I didn't owe them a damn thing. I said whatever happened to him, my mom, or my sister wasn't my concern. They'd never treated me like family, not once. Not when I was a kid. Not when I was struggling, not ever. And now, all of a sudden, they wanted to play happy family just because they needed something from me? He tried to guilt-trip me. Said that even if I didn't care about the people, I could at least care about the place, about the house I'd grown up in. But that place was never home to me. It was just a building with walls. Nothing more. I told him that, then hung up the call and blocked all of them from every corner of my life. I used to keep the line open, hoping just maybe they'd change. That one day they'd treat me like I mattered. But after that call, I finally accepted what I probably should have a long time ago. They're not going to change. And I'm done waiting for them to. The rest of that day was a blur. I skipped all my classes, barely spoke to anyone, and just sat with this heavy mix of emotions that I couldn't even name. Mostly, I felt rage. Pure anger that they could even ask me to give up my dreams just to clean up a mess my sister made. And yes, I'll admit it, I also felt guilt. This weird, gnawing guilt that I can't fully explain. I can help them, and yet I chose not to. That fact messes with my head. It's been a full day since that call, and I thought I'd feel better with some distance. But I still feel like crap. The last time I saw my family was Christmas. And honestly, it wasn't terrible. We weren't exactly hugging and singing carols, but at least they weren't criticizing me, and my sister wasn't being openly hostile. Now though, I'm convinced that whole thing was just an act. They were softening me up, knowing they'd come asking for something later. Now I just feel weird. Like I'm floating between being heartbroken and furious. I haven't told anyone about what happened. Not even my best friend. Because I don't know how to even start explaining it all. But that's why I'm here. I guess I just needed someone, anyone, to tell me I'm not the villain in this situation. So, ITA for cutting off my family when they finally came crawling for help after treating me like garbage for my entire life? I've been sitting with everything and trying to process it all. I keep asking myself, why would my parents even think I'd be willing to throw away my life for them after everything they've done? And you know what really gets me? The fact that I let this whole mess get to me so bad. I ended up skipping an entire day of classes. That's probably my biggest regret at the moment. Letting them get inside my head like that. But it's been 3 days now. I haven't heard a single word from them. I have no idea what they're up to, and honestly, I don't care. As long as they stay out of my life, I've got enough going on without their drama. I did finally talk to my best friend about it all. She's such a gem. The moment I told her, she was like, "What do you need? How can I help?" Just like that. I told her I was okay, that I didn't need money or anything, just some emotional support. Just someone to remind me that things were going to be okay. Because honestly, it's not my family that I'm worried about anymore. It's me. Once I graduate, I won't have a home to go back to. And sure, I know my friends would take me in if I ever needed a place. But I don't want to be that person who's always depending on someone else. That's not how I want to live. So now I'm working harder than ever. I have to finish college at the top of my class. I need to land a solid job right after graduation. I don't have the luxury of taking it easy or coasting. I'm constantly anxious about the future, and even though I know it's out of my hands to a degree, I just can't stop obsessing over it. I just wish I wish my family hadn't turned out this way. I really do. So today they actually showed up. Yep, my parents came to my college campus. I couldn't believe it. After everything? After that conversation? They really had the nerve to show their faces. Said they wanted to take me out to lunch and talk things over. We were standing in the lobby when they approached me and I didn't want a scene, not in front of everyone, so I agreed, just to get them to back off. I told them I'd pick the place because, yeah, I still don't trust them. Not for a second. So I chose this diner I go to sometimes when I want a break from campus food. The owners there know me well, I've been going there for a while, and I knew if something went sideways, I'd have backup. When we walked in, the owner was at the counter, and I felt a wave of relief. I gave him a little wave to let him know I was there and that I might need a lifeline. Once we sat down, they told me to go ahead and order something to eat. But honestly, I didn't have any appetite. The idea of sitting across from them and sharing a meal made me nauseous. I told them I'd rather stay hungry. They pushed a little, so to keep the peace, I ended up ordering a lemonade, just that, nothing else. Meanwhile, they ordered full meals like they were out for a casual lunch, not here to beg me for help. As we waited for their food, they finally got to the real reason they'd shown up. They wanted to talk about their money problems again. Like I hadn't already heard it all before. They asked me once more to reconsider helping them. And once again, I had to tell them, no. I wasn't quitting college. They never included me in any of their decisions, never consulted me before putting the house at risk or backing my sister's doomed business idea. So no, their crisis wasn't my responsibility. That's when my sister snapped. She accused me of being jealous of her, that I was only refusing to help because I couldn't stand to see her succeed. I almost laughed out loud. Jealous? Of her? She had nothing I wanted, nothing I envied. Truth is, she's always been the insecure one, not me. My mom finally got my sister to quiet down, but then the guilt trip started. My parents switched tactics. They said I was only able to go to college because they raised me and gave me everything I needed to succeed. That the reason I had a future at all was because of them. But here's the thing, they didn't do me a favor. They did the bare minimum. They brought me into this world, and it's the law to feed, shelter, and educate your kid. That's not some noble sacrifice, it's parenting 101. I told them flat out that I wasn't changing my mind. I was done. They needed to go home and leave me the hell alone. I even warned them if they showed up again, I'd get security involved, maybe even the police. My dad looked like he was about to blow a fuse. He clenched his jaw like he was holding back a full-blown meltdown right there in public. But before he could let loose, my mom stopped him, turned to me with this look like I was something disgusting, and said they were ashamed of me. That I was a disappointment. Then they just got up and left. Didn't even stick around for the food they'd ordered. As they walked out, I called after them, asking who was going to pay for the meal. My sister turned, looked right at me, and said, "You can pay. You picked the place after all." Then she smiled like she was proud of herself and walked out. That was it. That smug little grin was the final straw. I've been trying so hard to keep it together these past few days, but that moment? I broke. Right there in the diner, I lost it. Not a quiet, graceful kind of cry, no. This was a full-on meltdown. I couldn't stop the sobs, couldn't breathe through the hiccups, and pretty soon, everyone around was staring at me like I was coming apart at the seams. And the truth was I was. I tried to stand up and leave, but before I could, the owner's wife, who knows me pretty well from my regular visits, came over, gently grabbed my arm, and led me behind the counter. I didn't fight it. I was too shattered to even pretend I was okay. She and her husband sat with me, talked me down, and let the other staff handle things while they just stayed with me. No judgment, no questions. Just warmth and kindness. Eventually, when I was able to speak again, they asked what had happened. I could barely get words out, but I told them the short version, that I'd gotten into a fight with my parents, and they walked out without paying. That's all I could manage at the time. They didn't push for details, probably because they could tell I was barely holding it together. The owner told me not to worry about the food. He said they'd box everything up and I didn't owe them a thing. I insisted I'd pay them back. It was a lot of food. But in that moment, they just wanted to help. And they did. They even called a cab for me and paid for it themselves to make sure I got back to campus safely. Honestly, it's people like them, the ones who've shown me real kindness and compassion, who've kept me from completely losing my grip. When I got back to my dorm, I called my best friend right away, told her everything that had gone down, and asked if she could connect me with a lawyer. After what my parents pulled, I didn't feel safe. If they were willing to show up unannounced and corner me like that, who knows what else they might try. They had nothing left to lose, and that made them dangerous. I wasn't going to wait around for the next ambush. My best friend, being the amazing person she is, told me not to worry. She said she'd come see me as soon as she could, and she'd bring her dad and their family lawyer with her. Whatever I needed, they had my back. Now that I know my best friend is stepping in to help, I finally feel like I can breathe again, even if just a little. She's always had my back, and I know she's not going to let me go through this alone. I still feel incredibly guilty, though. I hate that I keep leaning on her and her dad so much, but the truth is, I don't really have anyone else in my corner. At least I was lucky enough to find her, and to have her dad in my life too. They've both stepped into roles that my own family should have filled but never did. Her dad is doing more for me than mine ever even tried to. Honestly, I can't wait to see them tomorrow. Just being around my best friend calms me down. She's been in my life since kindergarten. She knows me better than anyone, and she's always been this grounding force, especially when my anxiety gets out of hand. It's like she's my own personal anti-anxiety pill wrapped up in human form, and I love her more than I could ever explain. Her dad? He's exactly the kind of father I always wished I had. Kind, steady, and endlessly supportive. He's treated me with more respect and care than my real dad ever has. Together, they feel more like my real family than the people I share DNA with. Even the diner couple, who've only known me for about a year, have been more caring and protective than my parents and sister ever managed to be. I hate my family. I truly, deeply do. I wish I hadn't been born into their house at all. At this point, I wouldn't even call them selfish or heartless. They're just cruel. Cruel in that calculated, unapologetic way that shows they really don't care about how much damage they cause, so long as they get what they want. A part of me wants karma to finally come around and hit them where it hurts. After everything they've done, especially what they pulled the other day, I can't help but wish the worst for them. What they did wasn't just wrong. It was unforgivable. I started therapy. That alone has made a huge difference. It hit me recently that everything I've been through, none of it was normal. Just because I've lived like this my whole life doesn't make it okay. My best friend and her dad were the ones who finally got me to admit that I needed help, and I'm so thankful they did. They also introduced me to their family lawyer, and we're currently in the process of filing for a restraining order. It's been a few weeks in the making, but it's happening soon. Eventually, the goal is to get legally estranged from my parents altogether. No more ties, no more obligation, no more guilt. When they visited me a day after my parents showed up on campus, I was still a total wreck. Emotionally raw, exhausted, but just seeing them made a huge difference. Her dad told me I had nothing to worry about, that as far as he was concerned, I was already like a daughter to him. That meant everything to me. My best friend lost her mom when she was just a baby, but when her dad looked at me and said that if she ever had a sister, he'd hope she'd be like me, I just broke down. That one moment lifted so much of the guilt I'd been carrying. They reassured me that I wasn't a burden, that I never had been, and that they were happy to support me because they cared. The next day, her dad and their lawyer had to go back home for work, but she stayed behind with me for a few days. Those few days were honestly some of the best I've had in a long time. We laughed, watched dumb movies, ate junk food, and for once I got to feel like a normal college student again. I wasn't worried about my past or terrified of my future. I just was. She also made sure I actually followed through with finding a therapist. She didn't just suggest it. She basically dragged me through the process, and I'm grateful for that, too. I've been going twice a week since then, and while I know I'm still far from healed, it feels like I've finally taken that first step towards something better. My family hasn't contacted me since that day at the diner, but just to be safe, the restraining order is still moving forward. I don't trust them. I don't think I ever will again. But I do trust myself now, and the people I've chosen to have in my life. Right now, I'm just focusing on what I do have, and I have a lot to be thankful for. The road ahead is still long, but at least I'm not walking it alone anymore. And that gives me hope. Story 2. So I thought I'd do something sweet. I picked up a quart of my girlfriend's favorite chocolate ice cream, just to surprise her and maybe patch things up between us. I figured it'd be a good gesture. Something small but thoughtful to remind her that I cared. We've been together for about 2 years now, and I've really adored her through it all. She's meant the world to me. We've always been that couple, the kind that's got a standing plan every weekend, usually for a trip or a drive or some kind of adventure. It's something we both committed to, and I always looked forward to it. I planned these outings down to the last detail. But a few months back, She suddenly backed out of one of our weekend getaways. Said she wanted to go to a party with her friends instead. It threw me off. Sure. But I told her to enjoy herself and even offered to pick her up afterward. That night, instead of the "come get me" text I expected, she messaged saying she was going to crash at her friend's place. I told her that was fine, to get some rest and have a good night. But the next time we saw each other, about a week later, something felt off. I couldn't quite put my finger on it, but it was there. She wouldn't really look me in the eye during dinner. I asked if she was okay, or if there was anything she wanted to talk about. She brushed it off, said she just wanted to head home early. Whatever was going on, she wasn't going to tell me. Over the next few weeks, our plans started falling through more and more. Every time we were supposed to hang out, she'd suddenly have a different plan, usually drinks with her friends. I even offered to tag along once, thinking maybe we could just relax together. But she said I'd be bored and suggested I find something else to do. That's when my gut really started buzzing. You know when something just feels wrong? This was that, but worse. Then came another Saturday plan she bailed on. Said she'd be at the farmer's market with one of her drinking buddies. Told me maybe we could catch up later that night. Something in me snapped. The market was only 10 minutes away and I decided to do a little sleuthing. Not because I didn't trust her, but because I did. And I wanted to prove to myself there was nothing shady going on. So I didn't tell her I was coming. I just drove down there. When I got there, I looked everywhere. Couldn't find her. After a while, I texted her casually, told her I happened to be at the market too. Asked where she was. Her phone lit up immediately, and she hit me back with a bunch of rapid-fire questions. Where did I park, what direction I was in, which shop I was near. 10 minutes later, she showed up. She was wearing perfume. That threw me off. She never wears perfume. I asked where her friends were, thought I'd say hi. She told me they'd already left for lunch. I didn't buy it, but I didn't press right then. I just filed that moment away. I needed answers. And thanks to all the advice I got online, I finally decided to confront her. Now here's where it gets real. After several texts and calls she ignored, she eventually picked up. Her excuse? Phone died. Said she didn't notice until it was too late. I started off with a calm, honest question. You texted me the other day saying you weren't feeling things between us. What was that about? She told me it was just stress, that she was going through a rough patch and had taken it out on me. Okay, fair. Stress happens. But then I asked her something that had been weighing on me hard. A friend of yours told me you were seeing someone else. Is that true? Her reaction? Pure deflection. What? Who said that? Oh my God. Who would say that? This is insane. Everyone's spreading rumors about me. She didn't even deny it. Not right away. Her focus was on who ratted her out. And then, somehow, I became the bad guy. She flipped it on me, told me how much it hurt that I didn't trust her, that I'd accuse her like this. She played the victim hard. And yeah, for a minute it worked. I started questioning myself. Was I paranoid? Did I just blow up our relationship over nothing? She begged me to tell her who said it, but I wasn't about to throw anyone under the bus. In the end, she said she was just overwhelmed and wanted to relax, and maybe we could talk later that weekend. I sat there feeling awful, like I'd just torn a hole in something that meant the world to me. I love her, truly. I didn't want to believe she could be lying to me, so I figured why not do something nice. I got in my car, drove the hour to her place, and stopped to pick up her favorite ice cream on the way. Figured we could talk, reset, and maybe start mending the crack I thought I'd caused. When I walked into the ice cream shop, I ran into her daughter. She was there with her boyfriend, college kid, night classes, just out grabbing a treat. We chatted a bit. She mentioned she was staying at her boyfriend's place that night, but had to swing by her mom's house to pick up a workbook. I offered to follow her over. I figured, hey, I'm already here. Might as well say hi to my girlfriend, hand her the ice cream, maybe share a laugh over all the drama. I didn't expect what happened next. We both pulled up to her place. I parked on the street, her unit has assigned spots, and I didn't want to block anyone. And that's where things took a sharp turn. When we pulled into her street, her daughter actually parked behind me instead of pulling into her assigned spot. I kind of laughed and said, "What? Your neighbor take your spot again?" Just trying to make light of things as we walked up the front steps. But she paused for a second and said, "No, that's not my neighbor's car." It wasn't what she said, it was how she said it. The tone. The sigh right after. Something in my chest just dropped. I didn't want to believe it, but in that moment I knew. I knew exactly what we were about to walk into. I just didn't want it to be real. We stepped inside and stopped right at the entryway. And we heard it. There was no mistaking the sounds. That all too familiar rhythm, moaning, bodies moving, the whole thing. Her bedroom was straight across from where we stood. Her daughter turned to me, eyes wide like she'd just seen a ghost, and whispered, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I can't really explain what happened next. It was like I left my body and was just watching this all unfold from somewhere outside myself. I didn't feel anything. Couldn't even move. I was just there, holding a quart of chocolate ice cream, while my girlfriend was in the next room, sleeping with another man. I didn't know what to do. I just stood there, frozen in that surreal moment, like the world had suddenly stopped making sense. Then, out of nowhere, her daughter just screams, what the fuck?" It sounded like a banshee being hit by a fire truck. The kind of scream you feel in your spine. My girlfriend came running out of the bedroom, bare, wide-eyed, panicked. Maybe she thought someone got hurt. Maybe her instincts kicked in. I don't know. She started to speak but stopped cold the second she saw us. Then the words started tumbling out, over and over. "Oh my God, what are you doing here? You're not supposed to be here. What are you doing here?" Like a broken record. She kept saying it, spinning in place, and then ran back into the bedroom. Me? I was still just standing there, frozen. I don't know how much time passed. Could have been 10 seconds or 10 minutes. Time didn't feel real anymore. Eventually, she came back out, now in pajamas, and stood by the bedroom door talking to the guy still inside. Then she turned on us. Started yelling, asking why we were in the house, why we just walked in like that. It was like reality had finally caught up to her, and she was unraveling, crying. Her words barely made sense anymore. Her daughter was livid, screaming at her, "How could you do this? You did it again." That word, again, hit like a punch to the gut. I wasn't even the first one she'd done this to. At that point, I couldn't look at her. I couldn't speak. Everything inside me had gone quiet. I walked to the kitchen table, placed the ice cream down gently and said, "I know you get hungry after sex, so here's some ice cream." And then I walked out. I could hear her crying, saying, "No, wait." But I didn't stop. I didn't turn around. I just kept walking, got in my car, and drove home. That was a few days ago. I didn't go to work the next day. Couldn't. I needed space. I needed silence. Since then, my phone has been blowing up with messages. I haven't answered a single one. But for your entertainment, and maybe just to get it out, here are a few of the gems she sent me. If we had spent more time together, this wouldn't have happened. It didn't mean anything. You know I love you. If you cared about us, you'd talk to me. Please. Just please. You're really going to ignore me like this? If you cared, we could work this out. It goes on. And on. Right now, I still feel kind of numb. I don't understand how this happened or why. I gave so much to her and her daughter. I was there when things were hard. I supported them in every way I could. I thought we were solid. I thought we were good. And maybe this is dumb to admit, but I'm left feeling like I wasn't enough. That no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't make someone happy. That maybe something about me is just wrong. I know it's not true. I know it. But it still feels like it is. I know I'll move on eventually. I know I'll be fine. But right now, it just hurts. A lot. And honestly, if I had to do it all over again, I probably would have kept the damn ice cream.